Coming up on today's edition of Locked On Eagles, as week 2 of training camp starts, we're going to bring back Stock Up, Stock Down. That's coming up on this Monday edition of your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, Locked On Eagles.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Welcome in, Eagles fans, to a Monday edition of the show. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before because BetOnline is where the game starts. Gino, welcome back to the show, my friend. Well, I should say welcome back me. I haven't been back since Wednesday. I was down in New Orleans on a nice bachelor party, so got away for a little bit. But I've been itching to talk about the Eagles again because the first week of training camp is officially over. They had their first practice of week 2 today. Lots to talk about. We're going to bring back Stock Up, Stock Down.
This is my birthday. And what a better way than to get Lou back on the show.
That's right. Happy birthday, duh, of course.
Appreciate that. Great to have you back. Great to be in week 2 of Eagles training
camp. I defended your honor, my man. I was talking a lot of smack to Saints fans down there that said they would have given it to us in 2017.
I'll tell you that I said before the show the 85 Bears could have walked into that stadium. That's Nobody was beating them in 2017. But talk about the 2022 team, Lou. There's a lot of exciting things going on in training camp. And I know people can get caught up in those singular clips that you see. And I know Kyle Hamilton was getting a lot of flack from all the people around Twitter saying that he's a bust already. No, that's not what happens. But hearing the guys talk, like hearing Nakobe Dean talk today and just how he's understanding the offense and hearing him break down how he faked it till he maked it at Georgia, where he only knew one of the schemes that they ran his freshman year, but got on the field because he excelled in that. And then he got into this position to be drafted in the 3rd round by the Eagles.
We're going to talk linebackers coming up, man.
The talent, man, it just seems that it's showing up from what all of the beat reporters are saying, that the guys that they brought in, all of those new fancy toys, well, those things aren't defective. Those aren't the Amazon brand toys. No, those are the old school Toys R Us toys that you could throw down a set of stairs a bunch of times and it's going to work at the end of the day.
And especially on the defensive side of the ball, those new toys look like they're shining, and that kind of tends to be the way training camp normally starts. The defense is ahead of the curve in that way, and that's the case right now at the NovaCare Complex. So we're going to do Stock Up, Stock Down today, which we always do on Mondays during the regular season. But I thought now that there's been a full week of practice, we've got a good Monday session in as well. Good time to see what the stock report is for this roster heading into 2022, where there's a lot of expectation. So we'll go offense in segment 1, and then we'll go defense in 2. I feel like it's going to be more positive with the defense over the offense. But, there has been some bright spots on the offense, and I think we have to start with a guy that is running like a maniac, and he's got some fire and a new chip on his shoulder that we really haven't seen before. And I would say to start, stock up to running back Miles Sanders, who's in a contract year. So we already know he's got that pressure, the pressure of being a running back alone. A lot of those guys, even talented ones like Sanders, don't really get even 2 big contracts. And then you saw the stories being written last week about maybe he was getting second-team reps at times and Kenny Gainwell was running with the ones, although Nick Sirianni did dispel that notion the next day. And Sanders was a little chippy with the media, and then he was he ripped off a couple big runs today and kind of was pointing at the media. I like the fire of this team with him, A.J. Brown. They're out to prove something, and I think Sanders is running hard. And I know me and you both have said that he's had some things he needs to work on throughout his career, drops and being more decisive, but I really do think he has been one of the more underappreciated players over these last 3 years, always averaging over 5 yards a carry, and when he's healthy is so damn efficient and explosive. And if he is now motivated in so many ways in 2022, this could be the best yet for number 26.
I'll say one thing about Philadelphia. This city has accountability. It doesn't matter if you're the coach, player, general manager, or the media. People are going to hold you accountable. So if you say Miles Sanders is running with the 2s, he's going to take it to heart. I mentioned on the show on Saturday, he is a Philly guy. He grew up and played at Penn State. When you come into that environment, you know what it's like to have Pennsylvania fans around you, whether it's Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. Those are two huge fan bases. He knew the pressure that he was getting into when he came to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I would say he's lived up to it, Lou, because you look at that class. Were there more ready-made running backs that they could have taken? For sure. David Montgomery, for example. But they took a risk and took the guy where we first started talking about it. Traits over production. Miles was that guy, and you talked about what was good about drafting him there. Didn't have a lot of tread on the tires. Still had a bunch of upside to his game. Well, he's going into year 4 with extra motivation, and you hear that he's being explosive, and you even see the individual stills that they get, those high-quality 4K pictures of how cut up he looks right now in his lower half as well. If you could have that player who is explosive, who has that production, and still doesn't have
the device and more decisiveness. Like Gino,
that's what I was going to add.
The second half of the season, sorry to cut you off, was that progress too.
Mm-hmm. And getting to that next step of that LaShawn McCoy step, I would say, where you were probably one of those middle of the road backs that flashed a lot of the time, but could you get into that top 10 category? I think Miles Sanders playing under that offensive line with the threats that they have outside of him, if he has his best year yet, Lou, why can't he have production that those top 10 guys have?
I think statistically he's already been in the top 10 in a lot of areas, man. And I think efficiency-wise, he's been up there. I think, again, when he's healthy, he is one of the most dangerous running backs. And one of the guys that I think he's had, the most 70-plus yard touchdown runs of any running back since he came into the league in 2019. We want to see more production in the receiving game, but we saw he did show that in his rookie year in 2019. I think the stock is up right now for Miles Sanders. Gino, who has been impressing you on offense so far in training camp?
Well, we talk about all these new shiny toys that are probably going to play right away. You bring in Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round. Of course, you get Jordan Davis, A.J. Brown. Well, there's a player that you use a premium pick on that has been lost in the shuffle a little bit, and
I agree.
Rightfully so. He has arguably, as Slay would say, the GOAT ahead of him in Jason Kelce. Cam Jurgens, what everybody is saying about him, media, players, coaches, that this guy is exceeding expectations and he's being able to anchor against guys like Jordan Davis, who are 350 pounds, and you had a first-round pick a couple of years ago in Andre Dillard that was his question mark. Could this guy anchor at all? Could he even play at an NFL level against that level of competition? Well, Cam Jurgens, it seems that when they're in one-on-one drills, he's ready for the challenge. He's up to the task of taking on bigger guys than him.
Yeah.
He got asked the question today in his press conference, have you ever taken on a player the size of Jordan Davis? He said they had a player like that in Nebraska who was
and I guess he got the better
pounds.
of Davis today in one of those one-on-ones, man, which is incredible for the size difference there.
Because you hear what Jordan Davis was doing on the other side of the ball to some of the guys that weren't at that level. Yeah. He was absolutely destroying the game. As Chip Kelly would say, big people beat up little people. Well, Jordan Davis is the biggest of all of them, and he was really doing that. But Cam Jurgens, now with the flexibility that they're playing him at guard, which didn't really shock us after we saw him drafted as a center. We knew they loved versatility.
Yeah.
Man, he could get some snaps this year if, let's say, Isaac goes down or even Jason is out for
and then watch. He's going to play great at guard, and we're going to draft another center next year. Supposed to replace Jason Ken, then the cycle just continues.
No, just having a player who's versatile, who comes to work, brings the boys some beef jerky. Just he's a country boy who was.
I think that's what Dallas Goedert's nickname is for him. I think it's beef jerky.
Beef jerky. Yeah, you got a lot of those middle America type guys. The Dallas Goederts, you got the Cam Jurgens of the world, you got your Lane Johnson down in Oklahoma. Those guys that just like to come to work. And Cam Jurgens, I think he fits that Philly mentality, man, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. For the offense, again, Gino, so far the defense has been ahead. This is all with a grain of salt, and I know it's Lou DiBiase that's saying this, so people are going to freak out. But so far, the stock has been even for Jalen Hurts, but I'll put it as down here because of the back and forth, up and down kind of practices at the end of last week. And again, he's had some good days, though. He had a sharp day today. It sounded like in the short game, intermediate passing, but he hasn't really been lighting it up or wowing anybody. Again, this is only a few practices where they're going to try stuff, throw it at the wall. But again, it's not great to hear that he's not just been super impressive. And that's my thing, because it sounds like he's just been okay. And that's always our reservations on the show, both of us, is that we're scared he might just end up becoming an okay player and that he's already kind of hit that ceiling when it comes to the passing game. And that's why I'm a little more concerned, is because in this controlled environment where he can't use his legs, the focus is all about the passing. And so to hear that some of the same issues are arising every so often, like last year, and to me, it's not concerning, but the stock isn't up right now for Jalen. So again, he's a game or two, though. He's not really a practice player, but right now I'd say the stock's down, and I'd like to see him, start to pile up some good practices over this week.
And he got off to a good start today from what everybody was saying. Didn't turn the ball over, which Nick Sirianni put emphasis on the other day. Yeah. And those are the type of things that you want to learn in these first few days of training camp. Are these players coachable, and do they understand where they can be corrected? So, yeah, Jalen might not be producing these highlight-type plays, but he's got to stack consistent days together. I think all of these players have to stack.
Because he has to have a wow year, Gino. Like, he can't just be – and, again, it's only a few practices.
Yeah, it can't be average.
He can't just be okay this year. It's not going to get it done. So, yeah.
I don't put as much stock into it right now as I will once they get into combined practices, those 2 weeks of the combined practices that they will have.
Well, that's why I'm not fiery emotional right now like I would be if this was week 3 of the season.
You're not
then I will be, and you will be too, yeah.
Yeah, but we have to do a weekly show, and we have to put out our content every week. And to see that your quarterback had some up and down days, you would like to see him be consistent. But it wasn't just Jalen. I mean, Gardner Minshew had an abysmal day today as well.
Bad, yeah, I guess Carson Strong hasn't looked super sharp either. Overall, it's just been defense central, man.
Yeah, and that's what we got to take away from this, that the offense will be behind the 8 ball, and especially at the quarterback position too. You have to be willing to make mistakes in this part of the year to get better. And now that you're in the week 2, you should see consistency and growth. So this first day, it should put a little bit of ease in your mind prior to last week.
All right, Gino, before we take a break, and I really am excited to talk about this defense, honestly, more than the offense, who's your stock down for the first week of camp?
It's unfortunate to the reason why I'm taking him, but Zach Pascal, due to apparently he has a terrible case of food poisoning.
He tweeted that out last week. He's like, he wouldn't wish it on his worst enemy.
Which I can attest to. In the hospital. Yeah, I had food poisoning 2 days ago.
I think we've all been through it.
It's not great, but unfortunately, when you're not on the field, other guys are going to get reps and other guys are going to get recognition. And apparently Jalen Reagor has been pretty consistent here in these couple practices. And he's getting reps at punt return, as well as Greg Ward. And these guys like Britton Covey and Devin Allen are taking reps on special teams as well. Will he be off the roster? No, absolutely not. But getting him in this offense, somebody who you want to come in and be a reliable weapon for Jalen, that's what he's going to be. He's going to be somebody that has to know the plays better than most of the guys around them, what Jason Avant was really good at. Very good route runner, understood spacing, understood where to be. You don't want to see a guy like that get behind the 8 ball, where maybe the athleticism will make up for a lot of it with guys like AJ and Devontae.
Sure. Yeah.
But Zach Pascal, I mean, he's not going to be this guy that comes out there and lights it up, and he's also not going to be a guy that's getting 8-9 passes. So you want him to know what he's got to do and do it well. He's a veteran, of course. Hope he gets back healthy and gets in there. But just to be off the field in that first week of training camp when the hype is really big, you kind of get pushed by the wayside. But it's unfortunate. We wish Zach Pascal the best because we know Nick Sirianni's right hand man. I'd love to have him back out there.
As we said a couple weeks ago, Doug Peterson had Chase Daniel, Chip Kelly even had Dennis Dixon for a bit, and Jeff Mail. Sirianni's got his boys. Your Oregon Ducks, and then Zach Pascal is with Sirianni. But the defense overall, again, as we've said in the show so far, has been the talk of the town, and that's awesome because the defense really hasn't been a weak unit over the years, but the offense has kind of been the better unit, I think, over the last 5-6 years. And so there's a lot of new talent and they're shining. We're going to get into that as we continue stock up, stock down right here on Locked On Eagles. But guys, first, a shout out to one of our sponsors of the podcast, and it's Dave. Level with me here, Eagles fans. We've all been in a situation before at some point in our lives when we're a little tight on cash and maybe you can only afford to put a few gallons of gas in your tank, especially now with prices. You got another save the date. I got a wedding this Saturday and next Sunday to go to. Gino's got a bunch, including his own coming up. So you got to afford a gift. That's where Dave can help. If you're living paycheck to paycheck or struggling to make ends meet, it can be really stressful when unexpected expenses do come up. Now Dave can help you get out of a pinch when you really need it. Hindsight is 20/20 and you can't change the past, but what if you could get a little help from your future self? Maybe you'd ask to borrow a little cash, and now you can with Dave. It's a banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. That's more money to fill your tank, buy a wedding gift, or catch up on bills. You can finally tackle those expenses that have been stressing you out without any hangups. There's no interest and no credit check needed. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app today to get the financial relief that they need with extra cash. So if you're in a pinch and need some extra help, download Dave. That's DAVE on any app store. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve, member FDIC. Future you will thank you. All right, Eagles fans, welcome back into this Monday edition of Locked On Eagles. We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day, starting week 2 of Eagles training camp. Got their only open camp this Sunday at the Link. Super excited to get back down to the Link. I've not been in the stadium actually since 2018, since the first preseason game after the Super Bowl against Pittsburgh. So can't wait to be back.
Chicago 2017 for me.
Yeah, I mean it's been years, man, because of COVID. Haven't been on some road games. We were at the game in Buffalo together in 2019. Charlotte for me last year, but I'm so pumped. And Gino, I'm so excited to watch this defense because as we do stock up, stock down today, and it felt like I just wanted to do stock up for defense.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to look at negatives of defense because there's been a ton of bright spots, especially early in camp, because when you look at a defensive playbook, it's minute compared to an offensive playbook. Yes, you got your top guys, your Kirby Smarts of the world in college football that have as many playbooks as an offense does, but when you get to the NFL, you kind of know the schemes, and then you do the little tweaks in between them. But, man, the defense just seems to be ahead of everybody else, and the guys that you wouldn't expect to even step up, the TJ Edwards of the world, and guys that I have won. People weren't high on him prior to last week, but, man, he just keeps showing up, whether it's in press conferences that people are hyping him up or player that's making plays on the field. They got a bunch of these guys, Luke.
And Gino, your guy at safety is maybe the brightest spot so far.
Mm-hmm. Marcus Epps. I did a pretty good intro there. What can you say about a player who has huge shoes to fill, who hasn't made any excuses, and has stepped up to the task every step of the way? After a bad taste in many fans' mouths after that DK Metcalf one-on-one coverage to end that
which in fairness was so
game.
Unfair to him.
It was very unfair to him, but it's recency bias. But what has Marcus Epps done recently? Well, last year he was arguably your most effective safety that you've had.
I'd agree.
And what has he done this last week and a day? Well, everybody says he's showing up, making plays. The safeties around him, Anthony Harris, Jaquiski Tart, even Darius Slay and Fonte Maddox, and even Bradberry have brought him up. I think every player has been asked about Marcus, and they say he's a smart player. They've even gone out and went to his gym that he opened up in California, a bunch of the defensive backs to work with him. So the guys love him in that room, and he's just a guy that has been by the wayside with Malcolm and Rodney and the new addition of Harris, and they even bring in Tart, and people are saying, do they even believe in this guy? Well, he's one of those guys that is making you believe in him one way or another. He is going to force his way onto the football field because of what he is doing Monday through Saturday and in training camp and off the field. Just listening to him talk, he's an intelligent individual. He just understands the game, and he really does a lot of different things that maybe Tart can't do and maybe Harris can't do. If I had to pick one guy to come down and tackle one of the bigger tight ends in the league from the safety spot, I'm choosing Marcus Epps any day of the week.
Yeah. I think it would be awesome if he becomes your like Quez Watkins of the defense, where he comes out of nowhere.
Made a great point saying that.
Yeah, a late round pick or just a flyer guy that suddenly becomes a core piece, especially at a position where the Eagles really need that, and at a position where Gino, you've been begging them to use a premium asset on it. for all 5 seasons we've been doing this show, and they never have, of course. So if Marcus Epps can be that guy at this position and be that Quez Watkins, when you don't really need him to be like the best player on the defense, because you have loads of stars, it looks like, on the second and third level, across the board and up front as well. So he's had, I think, 3 interceptions already in a week, and not even just a week, not a week and a half. He had another interception today. It sounds like he's been the best safety by far of all those guys. So I agree. Totally stock up for Marcus Epps, and stock up for the linebackers too, man. I mean, the linebackers right now, and it's not just one guy specifically. TJ Edwards, it sounds like, has been the best linebacker at camp. Davian Taylor sounds like he's picking up where he left off before he got injured last year, has made some really nice plays, was getting first-team reps with the linebackers today. You saw the Mike Garafolo report last week that Nakobe Dean has been really impressing the Eagles in the film room and just the way he goes about his business. Then you've got, of course, Kazir White, who's the favorite to be the every down linebacker. And Sean Bradley's making plays today. Gino, it feels surreal that the Eagles are 5 deep with off-ball linebackers. And I don't know how the rotation is going to go. I tend to lean more towards preference, of White, Dean, and Taylor over Edwards just because of their overall ability. But hey, may the best man win. And I think all these guys are going to play because they all offer something different that you can use in almost like a committee approach. It's exciting to finally not hate talking about this position.
They matter on this show once again, my man, and it's the ultimate.
I'm not talking about Nate Geary anymore, thank God. Or Jatavis. I think I talked myself into Jatavis Brown or Corey Nelson. All of the,
It's the ultimate invest in what you don't have. And what didn't they have? Playmaking linebackers. Well, what did they see out of that group of Singleton, Wilson, TJ Edwards? Well, one of them worked, TJ Edwards, and apparently he's playing pretty good. Then what do? You go out and you draft Davian Taylor a couple years ago. Take a risk on a guy who's more of a track athlete than he really is a football player. Can he develop? Mm-hmm. Then you go out and sign a guy who had 144 tackles last year, Kaiser White. And then you follow that up, the grand finale. I tweeted it today. I'm still mind blown that Nakobe Dean, when I saw him in an Eagles uniform talking in his press conference, and they got Cam Jurgens and Jordan Davis prior to him, what reality are we in that happened? He could potentially start right away.
And he's healthy. That was
he's
the whole reason he dropped.
He's a baller. He's a great football player.
That is going to be so fascinating. I would love to know what the NFL was thinking with the health thing, because he's a full go right now in practice. It's crazy. The Eagles robbed the NFL with getting Dean in the 3rd round, and I'm really excited to see how they use all these guys in this rotation. Today's episode of Locked On Eagles is brought to you by the official sports book of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's BetOnline at betonline.net. They're the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news for every league, including the MLB. The Philadelphia Phillies right now have a better record at this time than their 2008 World Series squad. If the Phillies going to make the playoffs, bet some futures, make sure they cover, put some money on your Phils. You got the NFL futures right now as well. Bet on Jalen Hurts to win MVP, or Nakobe Dean to win, or Jordan Davis to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. All of that and more. The NBA as well, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. It's all available at BetOnline. They're your top online resource for all your wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they've got you covered. Head over to the website today on your computer or on your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today, because BetOnline is always where the game starts. And, Gino, I'm kind of cheating here with my stock down. I'm saying Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave only because, as you mentioned earlier, Jordan Davis is wrecking havoc, and these two are up for new contracts next year. Mm-hmm. And if Jordan Davis shows that he's not just the nose tackle that some people, lazy people, said that he was coming out of Georgia as a potential reason he wasn't worth a top 15 pick, these guys are going to lose snaps. They're going to lose money. They're going to be a big part of this team. Obviously, this is really less about Cox and Hargrave and more just about Jordan Davis. He's at the playing weight they want him at right now, right? I think 340. And he talked about how he's more 330. Yes. Coming downhill and attacking the one-on-ones. Kazir White was talking today in his press conference saying, I've never played with anybody that big. Mm-hmm. This is a unicorn. I mean, I can't wait he is somebody that I can't wait to watch on the field, even just starting with preseason.
You know, Chip Kelly has to have a tear in his eye to see the state of the Eagles right now with that big people beats up little people quote, which will just transcend time and space. Talk about the ultimate guy. We're saying Fletcher Cox, who is one of the longest tenured Eagles, who is going to have another successful season. Same with Javon Hargrave. They're just being overshadowed by a guy who you haven't seen, a player that can do what he can do day in and day out and change the game plan. Ben Solak's force multiplier quote when talking about Jordan Davis is the ultimate way to speak to what he can do. He makes everybody around them better. Nakobe Dean says it every single time he talks, that Jordan Davis makes his job easier. I believe Kaiser White said that today, that it's going to make their job easier as linebackers. And it's true. When you have that guy in the middle who, I mean, good luck defending him if you're not one of the top 10 interior offensive linemen in the league. I mean, J.C. Kelsey probably could take him one-on-one. Guys around the NFC, Zach Martin, probably could take him one-on-one. I don't think anybody right now in New York could. I don't think anybody right now in Washington can. He's a guy that you are going to say, two players are going to occupy him all game long, and we're going to have to deal with the rest of the one-on-one match.
And if they don't, we know he can get to the quarterback. You know,
yeah, leave him one-on-one and see what happens, folks. Just take a gander and see. Go check out some of that Georgia tape. Playing against the best competition. You want guys that played in big-time moments, in big-time games, and had big-time results. Why don't you get the MVP from the national championship game in Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean, the duo that really solidified the ultimate Georgia defense, which we talked about as one of the best in college football history. And you got two players from that. I know. I know it's hard before you even take a snap to say that these guys are going to be that influential. But if you're just adding the pieces together, man, and two areas of weakness, and now two guys that came in and were both players on the best college defense ever, it's just hard to imagine that, let's say, one of the players from the Fab Five back in those Michigan days wasn't going to be successful, right? It was impossible. They were too good, too much talent, played with too many guys that were good next to them.
And the Eagles got the heart of that historic defense with Davis and Dean. Gino, before we wrap up the show, you're stocked down on defense.
One guy that you're just not hearing because the guys around him, and I think you kind of took the easy way out, taking the guys that maybe
I cheated.
We're probably stock even and have just been doing what veterans can do. Derek Burnett, where are you, bud? Where's Derek Burnett? I mean, you want to talk about a player who...
Well, he can't get penalized yet, so that's why you haven't heard his name.
Yeah. You talk about a guy who should be playing up to getting Nick Sirianni's good graces because he has mentioned to you multiple times.
Always him.
It's always him.
It's always him.
And you're hearing about how good Brandon Graham looks, right? And what Hassan Riddick can do. And you're hearing about the athleticism of the younger guy.
What did Gannon say that Graham, it seems like you would not know he's 34 coming off a torn Achilles, that he looks that good.
And Josh Sweat, who's just one of those guys that you and I, we don't really ever mention because we know how good he is, right?
Sure, yeah.
Where is DB going to get on the field? I don't want to see him take snaps over Milton Williams. I don't want to see him take snaps over any of the interior.
They shouldn't have brought him back.
I wouldn't be shocked if he's either traded for next to nothing or he's cut by the end of this.
I was going to say, I don't even know what you'd get for him because his market was dead. That's why he came back to Philly in the first place, for next to nothing.
Literally a zero market for it.
I agree. I'll always love Derek Barnett for recovering that fumble in Super Bowl 52, but I think this has passed him by.
I mean, the luckiest bounce of all time, right? Like... Any other player would have got that. Derek Barnett's probably not an Eagle by now.
Gino, overall, though, this defense, and again, as I mentioned to start the show, and a lot of it is because Howie Roseman invested so many picks early in drafts and so many resources in free agency and trades on, the offensive side of the football. And I agree, when you're rebuilding a team, you start with the offense. But to see, that the defense might not, it was a strength at times, but a lot of it was because of older core pieces. To see all the young, new, fresh speed that they have on all three levels, to think that this defense couldn't just be okay in something we talk about winning with a quarterback all the time, but I felt like a lot of the years, even in 2017, 2018, 2019, you're winning with the defense, but not a lot of the time because of them. And to see what they're doing right now and the potential that they have on paper, and even if safety is not a weakness now with Marcus Epps too, the way he could play, And if Tartan, Harris can hold their own, I mean, this defense could be one of the best in the league if they really do reach that ceiling. We didn't even mention James Bradberry. It sounds like he looks like the 2020 Bradberry. I mean, are you kidding me? That could be one of the best trios of corners in the league. It looks really fun right now.
I was playing this game in my head yesterday, and I think it's a good exercise to play when you're measuring the talent of teams, especially within the same organization. Take a position group and say out loud, this is the best this group has been since.
Yeah.
Let's play this game, Lou.
Okay.
This is the best the linebacker group has been since. Your answer.
2017?
Probably much better than that, too. And you'd probably have to go back to...
Right, because Jordan Hicks got hurt, so it wasn't even... Yeah.
You'd probably go back to the Jeremiah Trotter days.
Oh, before that, it's a decade before. Yeah.
It was,
yeah.
Here we go again. This is the best cornerback group since.
Oh, Sheldon and Lito and Hacilio Hansen, like 2006. Yeah.
This is the best defensive line group since.
Ooh, yeah, since 2017, 2018. Yeah.
I'm putting it up there with I think it's gonna fall in terms of like one of the top 5 Eagles defensive lines ever. That's like my big hot take right now.
That's fine.
I just think that the amount of talent they have matches and even is in a surplus of what they had in 17. I think you have to take a look at those early 2000s units, even those late 90s units where you're talking about, I mean, Jerome Brown is your third best guy getting to the passer. I mean, that team is just surreal. And you have elite talent all along that defensive line where you're saying that Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave are being outperformed by a rookie, man. It's a weird place to be as an Eagles fan because overall this is the best this defense has been in a long time, dude. I think how we're going to see it all ebb and flow together. I don't think you're going to see that cohesiveness because the last few years it's been, you won because of the corners. They got 3 interceptions this game. They got to the quarterback 6 times with the defensive line. But they also allowed 300-plus yards.
Right. When was the last time they were just really – when was the last time none of the 3 levels was a weakness? You're so right. Like 2018, you were winning in spite of all the injuries at linebacker and the lack of talent at corner, and safety was carrying you in the defensive line. And then it was the opposite. You're right. Like they haven't had a complete juggernaut defense in a long time. And this could be, again, it's only on paper, and there's a lot to put together for Gannon, who he's got to show something in year 2 as DC. But you're right. Like this could be finally where there's like pick a hole on the defense. There really isn't one that's killing you. That's exciting, man. I can't wait to see how they put it all together. We're in week 2 of training camp. We got the preseason coming up soon, the open practice on Sunday. So it's all coming very quick. And right now the defense is winning over the offense down at the NovaCare complex. We got you covered though, Monday through Friday, to see if the offense does bounce back every day right here on Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, available 5 days a week on all podcast platforms and on YouTube as well. And make sure you follow us on Twitter. Follow the birthday boy, Gino, over here at GC24_football. You can follow me at DiBiase, and hit us up on Twitter at Locked On Birds. We thank you again for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Make sure your second listen is Locked On NFL Podcast, all the news across the league in under 30 minutes. For Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase signing off. As always, thank you for downloading, thank you for watching and listening, and let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.